Director of Planning, and the planners assigned to tonight's petitions. I hope you picked up a copy of the public hearing guidelines brochure and tonight's public hearing notice, which are on the table just outside the door. The brochure describes the format that we will use for the meeting, and the agenda lists the order in which we will hear the petitions. If you wish to speak, please fill out a speaker/attendance card indicating the petition you are here for. If you speak, please give your card to me as you approach the podium. If you do not choose to speak, please put your card on the table at the exit to the chambers. The card includes a QR code that you can scan to subscribe to Planning Commission agendas. By doing this, you will be able to access a copy of the commission's report when it goes to the county council. The commission will not make a decision on petitions heard this evening. Normally, the commission will receive staff reports and make a decision on tonight's petitions at the next executive meeting on February the 3rd, 2025. Additional comments, letters, and petitions submitted to the Department of Planning within 2 weeks of this meeting by January 27th, 2025 will be distributed to the planning commissioners in their executive meeting agenda packet. Written comment can be sent via email to planning@stlouiscountymo.gov, all caps. If additional information is required, the decision may be delayed. The Planning Commission's recommendations will be forwarded to the County Council, who has the responsibility for the final decision. The meeting will observe the following guidelines. Planning staff will introduce the petition and show photos of the site. Then the petitioner will present the request. They will be allotted 15 minutes. Then persons in favor of the request will speak. After that, persons in opposition or with concerns. People speaking as an individual will be allowed 2 minutes. People representing groups will be allowed 5 minutes. Please keep your remarks brief and avoid repetitive. I'm going to repeat that. Avoid repetitive or seconding presentations. After all opposition speakers have spoken, the petitioner will be allowed 5 minutes to answer questions and points raised by other speakers. The commission may ask questions of any speaker. After each petition is heard tonight, I will ask for a show of hands by persons in favor, in opposition, and with concerns. This is not a vote and not binding on the commission or the county council. The purpose is to make the crowd count part of the record for each petition. The first petition heard tonight will be PC 01-25, Nicholas Steele and Alexis Steele.
Good afternoon. PC 01-25, Nicholas Teal and Alexis Teal is a request for a change of zoning from C2 Shopping District to R3 Shopping District for a 0.24 acre tract on the south side of Laredo Avenue, approximately 600 feet east of Larimore Avenue. The site is currently occupied by a single-family home. As you can see from the county context map, this site is in North County, and there it is outlined in red on the aerial. From the larger aerial, you can see some of the surrounding single-family residential development and the overflow parking area immediately west of the petition track. This is the land use map showing the surrounding development. As I mentioned previously, most of the development surrounding the site to the north, east, and south is single-family residential. Larimore Park is further south from this site. Directly west of the site is overflow parking associated with a church located north across Laredo Avenue. And then there is a small commercial node at the intersection of Larimore and Trampy to the kind of northwest of the petition site. This is looking south into the petition site at the public hearing notice. This is looking west up Laredo Avenue toward Larimore. This is looking north across Laredo. This is looking east, looking south along the eastern property line, looking west toward in the rear of the property. This is looking south toward the rear property line. This is looking northwest into the site, looking southwest at the property line. This is looking north along the western property line. And now we'll hear from the petitioner.
All right. Hello, thank you for seeing us. My name is Laura. I'm from Altea Land Surveying. I'm here to help represent the client in regards to changing this from C2 to R3. So, Abby, do they have a thing of
Yes.
this? Okay. All right, perfect. So we prepared a presentation you guys should have in front of you. And so, I took a lot of pictures also, so a lot of these will be repetitious, but we have a street view from the property. This property has been zoned residential R3 since 1969. Then the zoning was changed to commercial. The current owners are needing to rezone it back to residential because they're wanting to sell it, and the loan officer needs it to be residential. As you can see to the left, as Abby pretty much showed on the previous slide, the only thing surrounding us that is even commercial is a parking lot for the church. So everything else regarding us is all residential. So our next few slides are just, a street view down the street. As you guys can see, everything is residential surrounding us. We're kind of an oddball being zone commercial out here. So the next attachment is a survey of the property. I'm just showing your general boundary and improvement survey for a residential lot. The next few slides are just showing our zoning for our property. It's a legal description of our property. This slide, I'd like to spend a little bit of time on. So we're not really sure how this ever got changed to commercial zoning. I'm assuming somewhere along the map, if you kind of look, it's like the straight line. They kind of maybe decided this is a good spot to keep this commercial residential. But if you look, everything surrounding us is residential. We are the only lot in the whole neighborhood. So everything in our neighborhood is residential. So if you look, you can easily see where the C2 commercial line is. Next is the zoning for our property.
I think you skipped it. Yeah, forward.
There we go. Okay, I was like, whoop, there we go. Okay, so next is the zoning west to our property. Again, this is just showing it's residential. The next is the zoning east to our property. So does anybody have any questions?
Any commissioners have any questions? No?
No? All right, do you want to say anything? You don't have to. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and sit down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any persons representing a group that wish to speak in favor of the petition? Not hearing any. Are there any individuals that wish to speak in favor? Is there any group that wants to speak in opposition or that has concerns? Any individual who wishes to speak in opposition or with concerns? Seeing none, we'll do a public vote on this. Those in favor of this?
You're allowed to vote.
You can raise your hands if you're in favor of this petition.
I see six.
6.
6, 8. 8. And then how many in opposition?
0.
And that concludes this hearing.
Gary, would you mind gaveling? Thank you.
That concludes this hearing. Next up, PC 02-25, May Commercial Properties.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is PC 02-25 May Commercial Properties, a request for an amended C8 Plan Commercial District to permit a dental lab and all C6 Office and Research Services District uses. This is a 1.09 acre tract on the northwest corner of Sulphur Spring Road and Arbor Spring Drive. The site is in West County and is on the aerial bounded in red. On this larger aerial, you can see that the site is at the entrance to a single-family subdivision to the west. The parcel south across Arbor Spring Drive has been recently developed with the child daycare/school, and east across Sulphur Spring Road are a school and tire service center in the city of Manchester. All right, this is a view of the property looking west from Sulphur Spring Road. This is looking north up Sulphur Spring Road at the single-family homes. This is looking across Sulphur Spring Road at the city of Manchester. This is looking south towards the intersection, and down further is Big Bend. This is looking northwest into the property. This is looking east toward the intersection of Sulphur Spring Road and Arbor Spring Drive. This is looking south at the new Guidepost Montessori School across Arbor Spring Drive. This is looking west into the single-family subdivision. This is looking north into the property. This photo is looking southeast from the northwest corner of the property. This is along the northern property line. Commissioners will note the steep grade along this border. Finally, a close-up of the existing structure's drive-through feature. Next, we will hear from the petitioner.
Good evening. My name is Renee May, and I'm here to represent May Commercial Properties in changing the use of the property at 431 Arbor Spring Drive to a dental laboratory and C6 uses to include admin and research offices and possible dental or medical offices. The dental laboratory will be a technology-driven lab that will create oral restorations and surgical guides using CAD/CAM, 3D printers, and mills to create the end product going to dental professionals. The lab creates no outside noise or emissions and will have no impact to the neighbors. The business is not open to the general public. The team will be made up of 12 to 14 professionals. The typical hours of operations are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. We are closed on weekends and major holidays. The project is a full interior renovation to accommodate the needs of the business. There are no planned expansions or changes to the exterior layout. There are plans to update the siding with a neutral color and add 2 windows in the front and 2 windows in the back per the site plan. The drive-through area will not be utilized. We will use the existing doorway for an additional team entrance. The existing exterior sign will not change except for an updated overlay with a new business name. Thank you for allowing me to present. I can try to answer any questions.
Do commissioners have any questions? Thank you.
Thank
Any persons representing a group that wish to speak in favor of this petition? Any person, individual, that wish to speak in favor of the petition? Are there any persons representing a group that wish to speak in opposition? Are there any individuals that wish to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and ask for the crowd count. Those in favor of this petition?
I saw 8.
I see 8.
8. Those against? That concludes this hearing. Thank you.
Good evening. PC 03 and 04, Jamie Santos, is a request for a change in zoning from the NU non-urban district to the R3 residence district and for a PEU, Planned Environment Unit procedure in the R3 residence district for the proposed use of single-family residences on single-family lots for a tract size of 4.23 acres located on the east side of Fine Road, southeast of Telegraph Road. As the commission can see from the context map, this site is located in South County, and to your right on the map is the site outlined in red. The site is currently vacant with a private road that cuts through it. This is just a larger view of the aerial. This is the land use map. As you can see, this site is primarily surrounded by single-family residential. There is an elementary school located to the south, and then Telegraph Road is located north. This is looking east onto one of the 2 public hearing signs along Fine Road. This is looking west across Fine Road. This is looking north up Fine Road. This is looking south from Fine Road. This is inside the site looking north. This is looking south again inside the site looking into the woods. This is looking west on the curb cut that exists currently. This is looking east. Fine Road does curve around into a north-south and an east-west road. So this is looking east up Fine Road. The road is shared between this and the school. This is southeast looking at the school. And this is looking south. This is the curb cut into the east-west Fine Road that they share with the school. This is looking south. This is up above the site. This is where the additional public hearing sign was located at. And this is looking north into the subdivision up that hill across from that public hearing sign. And next we'll have the petitioner. So here's your PowerPoint just in case.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
This button, that door.
Okay.
Both buttons work in case you need to go back.
Yeah, let's point this at you.
You can try, it won't work.
Good evening. My name is John Yakub, and I'm an engineer representing the owner for the development of Ladera Manor, located at 7600 Fine Road. We are excited to be in Oakville. We are surrounded by mostly residential subdivisions in the same zoning class that we are. And we're directly adjacent to an elementary school as shown on the existing plan. Our plan is to develop the site with 14 lots under a PEU under R3. Our current zoning is non-urban, vacant lands, pretty much a flat open field except for the perimeter on the sides are heavily wooded. We are directly adjacent to Fine Road with the northern portion of our property touching Telegraph right-of-way, the Telegraph right-of-way entrance and Fine Road. So the current disposition of the property is vacant. It has a gravel driveway coming off of Fine Road that supplies access to the original property owners, rest of the property, which their property is vacant, not vacant, zone non-urban as well. That property consists of somewhere between 16 and 20 acres, which is important for us to talk about a little bit later. So okay. So this is our location map, just off of Telegraph Road down Fine Road. You can see the open field. This aerial doesn't show the adjacent new subdivision located to our north, but it is concurrent with being vacant right now on the rest of the property. So I'm going to go through here. This is the current zoning map. Again, the subdivision to the north of us is shown coming off of Telegraph and coming around vacant, and then the school, and then across the street is also vacant non-urban property. That property to our, I guess it'd be our west, our east, is shown on here. You can see the area that's, there's 2 homes on it. It's about 15 to 20 acres. So in our development and design, we have decided to to connect that existing gravel driveway and make that our main drive going through the site, and then providing access for future development or later access for the rest of that property. We've also done the same thing for utilities. We
So is the pointer not working? Is that what's happening?
it's a little sluggish, but
Just
I'm getting it.
Okay, because I want to go back to what you were talking about with that road again
Okay.
for the future development.
Yeah, I'll buzz through the site plan here. So as you can see, our main road, our main entrance will be coming off of Fine Road, extending that drive through our site to the east edge, and that connecting to the existing gravel driveway for the rest of that property.
I'm sorry, would
So-
you say that again? Yeah.
So coming off of Fine Road, we have our main entrance off of Fine Road,
Towards the
And
south end, the
where
bottom
the
end?
existing gravel driveway is now, the access to that
Oh, at the north?
future
Is
property.
that the north end?
Well,
The picture's kind of distracting, look like things are
Yeah.
on top of things that we didn't normally have this or this.
So on this particular plan, Telegraph is north, top of the page. Fine Road will be coming down on the left side, which would be the west side of the property. And where that existing gravel access drive is through the property, we are connecting our entrance and continuing a regular subdivision street.
Existing gravel drive, is that at the north end? Is that the flag part of the lot? Or
No.
is that the bottom where it's going into the property?
No.
Oh,
So, yeah, the existing gravel drive comes off of Fine Road.
so that's by lots 1, 2, and 3.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So we're taking the existing gravel drive and converting it to a, subdivision entrance, concrete street and everything, going through the site and then reconnecting it to the gravel drive on our opposite side, providing access for the future development of that land, or
Is there an
just to have access.
easement there now for that?
Mhm.
Is there an easement there now to that gravel drive?
There is,
Mhm.
yeah. But we'll be providing right-of-way on our property, though. It'll be public right-of-way, public streets, to access over to that existing gravel drive. So also during the development of the project, we're providing sanitary sewage, water, all utilities that are not currently on the site. That'll also be access to that east side of our property line as well. So any future development of that property or whatever will have access to public right-of-way, sewers, gas, all utilities. Okay. So here's a copy of our site plan. It's kind of hard to see all the improvements on it, but so it has sanitary sewers put on, storm, electric, gas, water, light standards, entry monument sign, and all that will be meeting requirements for the R3 zoning class. We're asking for the PEU to help us design the site a little smarter, a little more congruent with what the existing conditions are. Adding the PEU, even though we meet all the R3 zoning requirements, the PEU allows us to shrink the width of the lot size, allowing us to leave more of the tree preservations. We have less grading. We have more access for streets. It also lets us have develop it where we can have the subdivisions common ground and all the other requirements. So the only thing that doesn't meet R3 is the reason we're going for PEU is the lot size. Under an R3 zoning class, the lot size would be 10,000 square feet. And under a PEU, we could go down to 7,500 square feet. Our average lot size is 9,243. So our average lot size is just under the 10,000 thing. But the benefits for saving the trees and leaving the natural water courses and features, et cetera, kind of outweigh that benefit. We're also connecting to the adjacent elementary school. We're going to provide an access sidewalk that goes down and connects into their sidewalk and through our subdivision. So this is R3 zoning class requirements. It shows basically what I just mentioned. The PEU zoning class requirements are on the next page. So, the benefits of the PEU is that we're designing a new streets, new sidewalks, better access along Fine Road. We have a nice buffer that we plan on leaving along Fine Road itself. Significant common ground and tree preservation. We're providing new homes with modern features and floor plans for people of all stages of life. I think Ladera Manor complements kind of the surrounding area and the other residential developments. So it's really a good piece of property with potential just to fill that slot. So this is just a rendering of some of the houses we are planning on putting on our site. Each one of these houses has multiple elevations, multiple options, so that they can be customized. There are 2 stories and a 1-story homes with standard two-car garage, fully sided yards, varying elevations for diversity. All the things that we're doing should help build a high-quality and desirable neighborhood. Here's a blow-up of the perspectives. So, in short, we're asking for consideration for rezoning from non-urban to R3, and then under R3, the PEU class. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Or
Have you all been in touch with the school, or with the shared street?
we
driveway?
did call the school board. I got a response letting me know that the person had got my message, but they never responded back as far as making any comments or anything.
To clarify on that, when you said a sidewalk connecting to the school, you just meant the new public sidewalk along Fine Road?
Yeah. Well, we have sidewalks throughout our site on both sides of the street, and then we're connecting them all along the main road or Fine Road to the existing sidewalks that are at the school.
That ends at the school site.
Yeah, there is a sidewalk in front of the school along Fine Road longitudinally, but there's no other sidewalks past that on Fine Road either direction. So at least we're connecting on to what they have as far as connecting our development to theirs.
I was wondering about the flag part of the lot behind Lot 8.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of that?
It's just the way the configuration of the lot was divided. We don't have a plan for that other than making a common ground, to leave it just basically a buffer the way it is right now. It's not really wide enough to do any development. It is a utility corridor between other parcels around our site, but there's no plan for us to do anything other than
So it's a utility, it has utility easements on it.
It does have utilities inside of it, yeah. There's power poles that go down it,
And then when you say that the lots would be 9,200 square feet approximately.
the average, yeah, the average.
Does that
Huh?
include the common ground? Or is that?
No,
without-
that's just the lot size. It doesn't include common ground or we have a detention basin on our site. It's common ground. We have a cul-de-sac bulb circle that's common ground, and then we have that flag area.
Which
So
would
the-
all get you, I guess, above 10,000 altogether.
R3 by itself is 10,000, and then the PEU goes down to 7,500.
I got it.
But
Okay.
if you take all 14 lots and average what we have in lots, the average is 92, I think 48, something.
Okay.
It's almost 9,300 square feet. So some lots are bigger, and a couple are smaller.
So to clarify for the commission, this request includes a PEU procedure, which is a special procedure that allows for subdivision developments to be designed to take into context topography, tree coverage, those types of things. The permitted number of lots cannot exceed what the underlying density would allow. So the R3 density, in this case, I believe could yield the maximum number is 14.
The maximum is 18.
Oh, it could
Yeah, the maximum
maximally
would have
yield
been
up to
18.
18 lots. But the PEU procedure does allow for a variety of lot sizes to allow for a more conservative design. So in this case, they are proposing fewer lots than it would maximally allow because of the additional common grounds.
And just for context, looking at the site plan, it looks like the smallest lots are 7,500 square feet.
Yeah, we have
And
two
the
lots that are
largest is
7,500.
over 12.
What that does is allow us to move lots around to kind of save features. The width of our property and the flag, and all the things that are going on, we're actually maximizing design benefits, like saving trees, not having to get into rocky areas. We're saving a buffer of tree line along Fine Road that, we don't want to have to disturb to squeeze in a lot here or there. We also have, the detention basin area that's kind of naturally next to a offsite lake or pond. So we're utilizing the features of our site to get the best design with some flexibility on the lot sizes, basically.
Got a question. Will you have to blast any of the foundations in?
Where's that coming from?
That is
We
Mr.
have-
Keith Taylor. He
we
is
have
coming in from.
Oh,
A couple of commissioners
okay.
on the video
hiring
conference.
Right now, no, we did boring samplings on our site. We didn't hit refusal of rock anywhere down to 12 feet. So that's one of the reasons why we were wanting the PEUs, so that we could grade, not have to do as much grading on our site as needed. There's current design, we have our soil test that came out 12 feet deep, no refusal. So I know next door on their development, they took out a lot more ground and got down to rock areas. But on our site, we're looking pretty good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I do have a question. That private road, is that an actual road or is it just a paper street and you don't see it, or what is it?
What's that?
There's a private road that you talked about.
A private road?
The existing access to the
Oh, that
seller's
was just a
home,
farm.
But it's not
access.
like it's just their driveway. It's not.
Yeah,
or
it's
is
just
it
a
private
drive,
roadway easement.
Yeah, there's not an easement for it or anything like that. It's just a farmer's access road that they used to plow a field up there and came across it. We'll be taking it out.
So then the new,
So it's nothing that has to be vacated.
No.
and then the new public road would match up to where that driveway picks up.
Right. We do have to worry about providing access to the gravel drive for the existing neighbors adjacent to us on the west. We talked about earlier, having our road come off Fire Road with a public access street and then connecting onto that gravel road. That gravel road to our east it's in an easement, but it's off our site, off our property.
Would you mind flipping back to the site plan on the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. One more. You want to look at the color one or the technical one?
I think the colorized one might be clearer on the
Okay.
screen. Thanks.
So this thing doesn't have a pointer on it, does it? Okay.
No.
So if you're looking at, I just want to make sure you understand on the road deal, so you don't have any questions. This is Fine Road. There's existing gravel driveway that comes in on this side, goes over to this piece, which is the original owner of ours. So we're just building a public street off the same entryway and all the way across adjacent to our site, terminating back into that gravel driveway. So these people will still have the access to public street and back into their easement for their right of way. I think one of the benefits of doing this development is that you actually are providing, utilities that are not quite there. We got them all surrounding us, but there's no, on our site, there aren't utilities. So there's no sanitary sewer. The storm sewer system is remaining natural. We're not affecting any waterways or drainage patterns or anything like that. We're providing the detention, but then you got street lights, an entrance off a Fine Road. I think it's a good design. It fits this particular property perfectly. Any other questions or concerns?
You good, Mr. Elliott?
This is a 20-acre site, you said?
No, it's a 4.23 acre,
4.2.
4.25 acre, yeah,
Okay, and you're gonna put 14 homes on it,
right,
on 4 acres.
right.
And that's, how much of that, trying to figure out how much of that is roads, how much is common ground, how much is,
2.99 acres of residential. If you take out the streets, the road, common ground, et cetera, it's 2.99 acres.
so you're gonna have 14 homes on 2 acres,
3 acres, yeah.
3.
The density, I mean, I'm allowed 18 under straight zoning. And I'm actually reducing the number of homes that would be allowed under straight zoning.
For the purposes of completing the density calculations under the zoning ordinance, the Department of Planning, we review them. It is the minimum lot size, just divided you just divide the total lot area. So we do not take into consideration the roadway or those common grounds. It's just a simple density calculation to tell you how many lots they can yield, and then it is up to the property developer or potential developer to then make those sorts of design considerations throughout the process. So the density calculation does not take into consideration removing those things from it. It is then up to the property owner to then to determine the right configuration under those numbers.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Any person representing a group that wish to speak in favor of this petition? Any person, any individual wishing to speak in favor? Any person representing a group that wish to speak in opposition to the petition? Please come down.
If you both want to come down, and then second gentleman, if you can just wait in the front row if you'd like.
You represent a group, correct? Okay.
Thank you. Did you, oh, you just handed your speaker card. If you could just identify the group you're representing when you start.
Yeah, I'm representing myself as well as the neighboring property neighbors that signed our petition to go against the rezoning of 7600 Fine Road. But good evening, and thank you guys for letting me speak this evening. I'm here to express my concerns in opposition to the proposed rezoning of the 4.23 acre lot located at 7600 Fine Road from agricultural to R3 high-density zoning. I believe this development would create significant issues that conflict with public health, safety, welfare, as outlined in St. Louis County's zoning ordinances and state regulations. My objections are as follow. Firstly, being traffic safety concerns regarding steep topography and school safety. One thing I think is being misrepresented here is from the photos, you can't really tell, but that hill is actually quite steep. From the way they drew the roads would actually go straight down and they'd lead to the 3 houses at the bottom of the hill. Thus, for this property does sit on a steep hill, which poses a significant hazard to vehicles, particularly in winter weather. Snow and ice could cause the vehicles to slide, endangering the 3 proposed homes at the base of the hill. That would not only put the homes at risk, but more importantly, jeopardize the safety of the families that live within them. Increased traffic from 14 new homes would exacerbate these risks. Other being school safety, this property is very close and adjacent to an elementary school, which would be butting up directly to it and possibly jeopardizing the safety of the children that walk to and from it. Though they are saying they want to put in a sidewalk, they also say that they haven't heard anything back from that, so I'm not sure what to make of that. Next being stormwater management and flooding risks in pertinence to drainage issues, increased runoff, and Missouri DNR regulations. The proposed homes at the bottom of the hill would be situated in a storm sewer drainage easement. The area relies on stormwater retention basins to manage the runoff from surrounding valleys. Any increase to stormwater volume resulting from the proposed development could place additional strain on this drainage system as a whole. This could lead to flooding of the proposed homes at the bottom of the hill, causing potential damage to the homes and risking the health and safety of people that be living within them. Speaking pertaining to the three at the very bottom, those are actually in a drainage ditch for the most part that does quite often flood whenever there's large amounts of rain that come in. Increased runoff. The development of 14 homes would create a more impervious surface, leading to increased stormwater runoff. This could overwhelm the existing drainage infrastructure and exacerbate flood risk for surrounding properties and the three homes located at the bottom of the hill. Missouri DNR regulations for the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, it requires compliance with stormwater management standards, including the best management practices. Without a detailed plan addressing these concerns, this development, in my opinion, risks non-compliance. Next being wildlife and environmental concerns, especially pertaining to habitat loss and Missouri Wildlife Code. This property currently serves as a habitat for a lot of local wildlife, providing grazing areas and national corridor for deer that go through that up to Beech Tree Park through Beck trails that they have. This development would disrupt the ecosystem, displacing wildlife and reducing biodiversity. State law protects certain wildlife habitats. Rezoning commission should ensure that the proposed development complies with these protections. Next of which being compatibility with adjacent land uses, residential versus agricultural. Rezoning this property from agricultural to residential would fundamentally change the character of the area. The steep slope of the hill and proximity to the school makes it unsuitable for such dense development. Public health, safety, and welfare, zoning ordinance objectives. The St. Louis County Ordinance emphasizes protecting public health, safety, and safety. This proposed development conflicts with those objectives due to these safety risks, environmental impact, and drainage issues outlined. In conclusion, I urge the commission to deny the rezoning request. The proposed development presents serious risks to traffic safety, stormwater management, environmental health, and all outweigh the potential benefits. By denying this request, the commission would be upholding its responsibility to protect the well-being of the community and maintain the integrity of the zoning regulations. I appreciate your guys' time, and I do get that it all is kind of what it is. I come here, and my family is the family that owns all of the property that this gentleman has referred to throughout this, especially the roads, which are not farm roads.
Mr. Elliott, that's 5 minutes.
Okay, I appreciate your guys' time.
I have a question. So can I just confirm what property do you own?
Yes, ma'am. I own the property that butts up to the lake basin at the very top, and my family also owns all the property that butts up to it, to the side of, I
Like
guess if you're looking at
behind-
that, to the direct right would be,
Behind lots like 11, 12, 13, 14,
um,
next to those lots?
my lot that I own is the one that is directly behind Rogers Elementary School at the top. And we have a petition from several other people in the community, including adjoining property owners within 185 feet and people that live in the upper subdivision expressing their disinterest in it as well.
Were you able, did you have
Looking
a
at the
copy of
green.
that for us?
For this,
apologize.
yes. And I also have a petition with signatures of community members within 185 feet of the property expressing their concerns and disinterest.
Will
wanting
you,
to
I'm sorry,
do the same.
I want to make sure I understand. Will you just tell me again where your property is?
Yes, ma'am. It's kind of hard to see on that particular map, which is making it a little challenging. for me to
Okay, that's
describe,
okay.
But
So
from
is
the
it,
driveway that goes up Rogers Elementary School, that is my driveway as well. At the top of that driveway, there's a gravel road that goes to mine. And then my family also owns the entire rest of the property that's from where those houses are over to, I guess you're right, if you're looking at that photo,
okay,
which is why it is a little upsetting whenever someone talks about expanding over time and putting in roads on a property that our family's been on for over 150 years.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I'm Brett Dormuth. I'm the property owner that the driveway is going to get moved. And the way it is right now, my road goes through to lot 14. My water line runs through there. And, you know, are they going, when they move this road, are they going to be taking out my trees? Also, I have concerns about the 1, 2, and 3 lot. That's all flood area. In 2015, there's a creek, there's a retention, or not a retention, but a storm sewer to the right of their retention thing. That's all where all the water goes through there under the school parking lot over to the creek. Now, in 2015, when it flooded, I seen the water back up through that pipe before. And that's always been really wet down in there, and them houses are gonna flood. Also, 1, 2, and 3 are, that's a lot of trees. He talks about not taking down trees, but that's all trees. Also, there's a lot of traffic with the school there. There's times we can't pull out of the driveway because there's so much traffic there, and there's gonna be more traffic if they're there. So, you know, I don't know. And now they talk about they're gonna future development and all that. It's like they're pushing me out. So I don't think that, I don't know.
Is your property a farm right now, or?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we have goats and chickens, and we just got rid of our horses, so my mom passed away. And we have 20 acres above this. So it's just, I don't know, I worry about all the water running down through there. We have subdivision, Shadow Point subdivision, Woodbridge Estates, and I have Fanstown. All the water runs down through our valleys.
Mr. Elliott, that's 2 minutes.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think you were speaking as an individual, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We kind of got off track there. I had called for people speaking in a group. Is there any individual that wants to speak in opposition or concerns? Seeing none, would the petitioner like to come up and give a rebuttal? What was?
Sure, I'd like to try to address some questions. There's some variety of questions that they brought up. I'd like to go over them, if I can remember them all. You talked about, one of the items they talked about is traffic and a traffic study for 14 homes on Fine Road. The existing gravel entrance to that property is the same location where we're going to put our main entryway, or our only entryway. A traffic site distance study was prepared showing that it meets all the requirements for that road. There's no indications of any issues with site distance or anything like that. The school entrance is adjacent to the property, but I don't think we're going to produce enough traffic to violate, the functionality of Fine Road at that particular point. Past that point is all residential subdivisions, and from our point up to Telegraph, there's no development. We're 700 feet from the right-of-way of Telegraph Road. So I think that's how I just, on the stormwater issue, worried about the stormwater. Behind lots 1, 2, and 3, there is a natural swale. It's pretty big. It does have stormwater flow through it. Adjacent to our site is a pond and a lake that also catches water throughout the site. But our particular water, we plan on doing a detention basin, collecting our water and putting it into a detention basin and discharging it into that swale, that existing swale. And then at the end of that swale, it's picked up in a pipe and piped on down. That swale, we're trying to leave it it functions naturally right now. So we have a wide bottom swale proposed in over the same drainage area. So we're not changing the draining pattern at all. All we're doing is collecting the differential from raw ground from that to development ground and storing that in the detention basin. So I think we meet the stormwater requirements for that. I haven't done any studies upstream or offside or behind Shadow Point or whatever, but those subdivisions had to meet their stormwater requirements as well. I know there's a couple detention basins towards the north in that Shadow Point off-site that don't come through our site at all. So their drainage from that development is not, discharged into our development. It goes to a creek along the right-of-way, and on the other side, it goes down a funnel to the other side of the valley. So what stormwater we do have, we're handling it. 4.3 or 4.23 acres. We've done a preliminary stormwater drainage area calculation, and the sizing of that detention basin is appropriate for what we're going to have on our site. So on the habitat loss, anytime you do any development, whatever, there's habitat loss. Like I said, that we're trying to keep pockets of natural surrounding / trees. We're going to have habitat loss if you're like going from a farm to a development, a subdivision. But there's not an adversarial effect. We're not letting any of our stormwater pollution drainage end up on Fine Road or any surrounding properties. We are vegetating the whole site with heavy landscape, which we supplied a landscape plan submitted. And we're going to vegetate all the disturbed areas back with sod or landscaping. So I can't say, as a habitat lover, I'm a outdoorsman myself. You're always going to have something, but it's how you develop the property that lets you know whether you manage it correctly or you're having a negative impact. I'm not aware of any code violations or anything by the Missouri Department of Conservation or wildlife funding. There's no known, eagle nesting area or owl nesting, or there's nothing I don't know about not meeting any criteria from those departments. Also mentioned, we talked about the drainage, we talked about stormwater, we talked about the access. I wasn't quite clear where the one gentleman, actually his lot is and what his access point is. I know that off-site or out of our site, we're not affecting any access points. We're going from one existing entryway to the end of the road where the gravel drive goes on from us past the property. We're not connecting on to anybody else for access as far as I know. I mean, there's no easements or anything shown differently than what we have and are providing in that right-of-way, the public right-of-way or proposed public right-of-way.
May I ask a question, Mr. Secretary? I just want to clarify that. I want to ensure that you have done the due diligence to ensure that where you are showing Triumph Drive as becoming a public right-of-way, that there is currently no access rights that are granted to any other property owner where that public right-of-way is currently located.
Well, there's a easement for that property owner.
And are you going
But
to
it's
be
within the right-of-way. So if I don't build that right-of-way, there is an easement.
But before St. Louis County will accept for a public right-of-way dedication, we would want to ensure that those easement rights are addressed.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's They're given, yeah, you have to do
But
that.
because dedicating it as public right-of-way doesn't extinguish the
Doesn't
previous easement
extinguish.
rights.
Easement
Okay.
rights.
That's fine. And then, like I said, at the edge of our property going east, that easement for that driveway is connected to our public right-of-way, or proposed public right-of-way. So that will remain as is, as access point.
For the purposes of this evening, I think
Right,
you've answered my
right.
question.
Thank you.
I have a question on 1, 2, and 3. The gentleman that spoke prior said that was heavily wooded,
It is.
and that seems to be a area that he's concerned about flooding.
Yeah, well, it's got the natural waterway course right now. The area from about the front of the houses of the road down to the school is wooded. There's a swale. It's probably 25 feet wide and it goes up, 10, 12 feet. Okay. So that's and then off-site, there's detention basins or lakes, ponds, whatever. So we are leaving, we're leaving that swale functioning, but we're taking out the trees enough to build the house. So we're trying to maximize leaving that area alone. I mean, there's no reason.
Where is the swale in conjunction with lots 1, 2, and 3?
The
Is it
swale is at the
behind
rear.
Lots 1, 2, and 3? Is it in the middle of it, or?
No, it's against the property line. That swale is against the school, the property line between the school and us. There's existing stormwater piping located basically where our detention basin is, down to where it discharges into that swale. And then at the school elevation, there's another stormwater system that picks up that water behind lot 1.
But how much more water is that gonna add to it?
0.
It's not gonna add any water taking
No,
those.
because
trees
we're
and all that.
detaining all the runoff on our site. That functions the way it is right now. The way that piping system works and that swale would be running the way it is right now. We're adding development, so we're collecting that water and we're putting it in a detention basin. So that, the way the detention basin works is it holds the water from a storm, let's say you have a 20-year storm or whatever. Yeah, so it holds it and then it releases at a slower rate. So the overall volume that leaves our site will have that detention water drain out after the storm. So we're not adding any additional flow in a regular storm. So if it rains, it pours, it does whatever, that system that's in there works the way it is.
Okay, but the point was made that it flooded before you did anything. It flooded, correct?
Oh, that's what the gentleman said. I don't, but when it floods, it just means there's water there. It doesn't come out of that swale, that existing
Yeah.
drainage swale.
So what makes you think it's not gonna flood in the future?
I don't believe it's flooding. I mean, it's filling up with water the way it's supposed to. That's what a swale is doing, is directing the water from the discharge pipe that's there now into a collection pipe. It's a big flared end section on behind lot 1, right at the property line.
I understand that. I'm not trying.
Yeah,
to
I don't
argue
think
with
it
you, but
floods.
you're
I think it operates the way it's supposed to right now.
Yeah, but you're adding more water to the
But
issue.
I'm not adding it at the same time that it normally rains. It's detained. I'm holding it.
What I believe
the
Mr.
difference-
Yakub is describing is MSD's regulations through any permitting process that he would have to, any developer of the site would have to ensure that they have a stormwater management plan that is approved by MSD that
Right.
shows that all the water that would follow the site would leave the site at the exact same rates as it does in its pre-developed state. So there would have to be engineering plans that would have to be produced throughout any development process to ensure that that is taken care of. He is not required to fix problems of the past. He is required, or a property owner is required to ensure that they do not exacerate future
Yes,
problems.
they cannot add to the problem.
That's very
Not required
well
to fix the
explained.
problem.
Thank you, because I get too technical. The overall differential runoff on that site is going to be less than 2.33 CFS per square foot. If you're just wondering about a volume. 4.23 acres of developed ground, I'm just saying the whole site's developed, and 4.23 acres of totally non-developed ground. That differential is pretty small. I mean, our detention basin shows you it's not very big. But like you said, all that's calculated for the requirements of Metropolitan Sewer District and Highway Department, and, everybody.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Okay. I'm available for any other questions as well.
You do a crowd count. Those in favor of this?
I see
See
three.
three.
3. Those opposed?
I see four.
4.
4. That concludes this hearing.
So the planning commission can adjourn and then
Yes.
come back for the executive
Is there a
meeting.
motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. You're adjourned. We'll reconvene in a couple minutes if anybody's got to use the facilities or anything.
This and this is really distracting. Oh.
We ready?
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Elliott.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call the executive meeting to order. Please make a note of the roll.
Mr. Taylor,
Here.
Ms. Hart, Mr. Cunningham, Ms. Hancock,
Here.
Mr. Riddell. Chris, I see you on. Are you able to unmute for roll call? I'll skip Mr. Riddell and go to Mr. Fagan,
Here.
Mr. Elliott,
Here.
Ms. Williams.
Here.
Mr. Presiding Officer, you have a quorum.
First item is a letter of recommendation for PC 01-25, Nicholas Steele and Alexis Steele, a request for a change in zoning from C2 Shopping District to R3 Residence District.
PC 01-25, Nicholas Teal and Alexis Teal is a request for a change of zoning from C2 Shopping District to R3 Residence District for a .24 acre tract on the south side of Laredo Avenue, approximately 600 feet east of Larimore Avenue. As the commission will recall, this site is in North County. My apologies. This site is in North County and is outlined in red on the aerial. So as discussed previously at public hearing, this parcel was zoned C2 Shopping District in 1965 with the adoption of the zoning ordinance. A single-family residence was built on the site in 1969 and has been occupied by a single-family residence since that time. The department is recommending approval of this request, and this is coming to you tonight as a letter of recommendation. We find that residential zoning is appropriate at the site given its use historically and the surrounding development. We find that the range of R3 residence district permitted uses are appropriate on this site and in this area, and the site meets the minimum lot size for single-family residences in the R3, which is 10,000 square feet. And this use is consistent with, or this request is consistent with the surrounding zoning and development pattern along Laredo Avenue. And the property has not been used for commercial uses and is not appropriate for commercial uses. So we are recommending approval. And at this time, I would like to request a motion.
Your recommendation,
So moved.
second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next up,
Mr. Riddell, did you cast a vote?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
next up's a letter of recommendation for PC 38-24 GCI Crown Imperial LLC.
PC 38-24 GCI Crown Imperial LLC is a request for amended development in the M3 and FPM3 planned industrial district. This is a 10-acre site on the south side of Baumgardner Road, west of Baumgardner Industrial Drive, and the proposed use is a battery energy storage system. As the commission will recall, this site is in South County, and there it is outlined in red on the aerial. And this is a letter of recommendation consistent with the commission's recommendation of approval at their executive meeting last week. And so we are recommending approval of this letter.
Okay, you've heard is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes
Aye.
have it. Next up, letter of recommendation for PC 28 and 29-24, St. Louis County Planning Commission and Flower and Findler. Request for a change of zoning from R1 and FPR1 residential district to NU and FPNU non-urban district for a PEU in the R1 and FPR-1 residence district.
Good evening. So PC 28 and 29-24 is St. Louis County Planning Commission and Flower and Fendler Incorporated. PC 28-24 is a request to revert the zoning from R1 Residence District and floodplain R1 Residence District back to the original zoning of NU and FPNU. This was due to a previous zoning petition that never came to fruition, and the PEU expired. Thus, the Planning Commission can revert a zoning back whenever a PEU does come back for a site before this commission. PC 29-24 is a request for that PEU in the R1 and FPR1 for a proposed single-family residence on 77.1 acres for PC 28-24. PC 29-24, which is requesting that PEU, would only take up 34 acres. This is located on the west side of Hillsborough Road and south of Paradise Lane. So as the commission may recall, this is located in South Mid-County. The PC 28-24 encompasses both the red and the green. And then PC 29-24, Flower and Fendler, is only what is circled in that red. And here's just a larger aerial for you guys just to see again the two sites. So a little bit of history because it's been a moment since this has been back before the commission. So again, PC 28-24 was a request to revert the zoning of this full site of the 77.1 acres from the R1 and FPR1 back to the NU and FPNU. And then PC 29-24 was a request for a PEU in that R1 and FPR1 for 34 acres. On August 5th of 2024, the executive meeting was held and the commission voted to approve the information report, recommending partial approval of PC 28-24, St. Louis County Planning Commission, for the western 43.1 acres. And the commission also recommended approval of PC 29-24, Flower and Fendler Incorporated, to establish a PEU in the R1 and FPR1 residence districts to create 34 single-family detached residences. After the executive meeting on August 5th, the petitioner reached out to county staff indicating concerns about their ability to convert Lockmore Drive into a public road that meets the county standards. The main concern was there were several easements along Lockmore Drive, and they weren't sure if they were going to be able to vacate those easements properly to meet the county road standards. The petitioner did meet with county staff from the Department of Planning and the Department of Transportation and Public Works. In that meeting, the county staff did note strong concerns about Lockmore Road remaining a private road and would not support Lockmore Road remaining private with that many residential homes being built. The petitioner then asked for us to hold the item on the commission's agenda while they explored their options on looking into vacating those easements. In December of 2024, the petitioner did reach back out to county staff, indicating that they did find it possible to vacate those easements as there weren't as many parties as they initially thought. Staff did revise your letter of recommendation just to describe the update of the meeting that was held with the petitioner and what they found in regards to the easements being vacated. No other modifications were made to your letter of recommendation that's before you this evening. It is exactly the same as August 5th, just adding that one part. And so staff is recommending approval, and at this time I ask for a motion.
Any questions?
Yes, I'm not really following this.
Sure. Do you want to move and second and then have
And then
discussion?
Move for approval.
Okay,
Second.
those in favor?
No discussion.
Discussion.
Okay, open for discussion.
So Lockmore Drive itself right now is a private roadway easement. It is an easement laying on top of the subject site and leading to the properties to the south. Originally, the developer thought they'd be able to vacate that easement on their site because, kind of like we were talking about with that other site, you can't have an easement and public right of way in the same place. They just don't the rights don't work that way.
The county won't accept.
County won't accept it as a public right of way if there's another easement, a roadway or access easement underneath it. So when Mr. Flower originally came to public hearing, he thought that he'd be able to get that portion vacated, no problem. But then afterwards, he realized that he thought there were like 100 parties that would have to sign off on vacating the portion of Lockmore that's on what he has under contract. So he was digging into that like all winter, and it's actually only like 3 people he would have to convince to sign to vacate the easement, which he thinks is a lot more achievable. And that is what we want, because as Gretchen was mentioning, the alternative would be for him to keep it as a private roadway easement. And then all those new 34 homes would be accessed on a private road, which we just have different concerns about that type of configuration. But since he is able to, he's found a path where he can get that private roadway easement vacated, he would be able to build Lockmore Drive, the section to access these homes as public rights of way. So that was sort of what has held it up for the past few months, but he has found a path forward that we are comfortable with as well.
It seems like at the beginning of the presentation, it was about reverting the.
Oh,
So because it's a slightly
would you go back to the
Yes.
aerial?
Of course.
it's a slightly sort of complex sort of petition, which is that the first petition, as part of these two that are interlaced together, the first petition, which is 28-24, St. Louis County Planning Commission. Anytime a previous PEU has expired, because this site has an expired PEU from
2017, yes.
anytime that someone wants to come back to develop a site that has an expired PEU, the Planning Commission has to consider about whether that is still really appropriate. And so it has the ability to actually revert that underlying zoning back to what it had been at its original designation, which in this case was non-urban district. So this entire, what we have here on the screen, the green and the red, back prior to 2017 had been non-urban. So in 2017, as part of a previous petition, it was then zoning was then changed to R1 and FPR1 with a PEU. It never came to fruition. The underlying zoning therefore never changed. There was never legislation to amend the zoning map to change the R1 zoning. So as part of this overall development procedure, you have to consider whether it's appropriate to revert this all back to NU or not. And it's been the determination of this commission that a partial reversion, only that green area should revert back to NU, but this red area shall retain its R1 zoning rights. And as well as on that red area, it shall also include as part of PC 29-24, Flower and Fendler. That is where the new PEU will be developed.
It is confusing. My very first petition in 2017 was actually considered for the Planning Commission to consider an expiration of a PEU on the site from 2006. But like Jacob said, we're recommending partial approval because the current development doesn't extend into the back. So we think it is appropriate for the rear to revert to NU, and that it's fine for the front where Mr. Flower's current development is for the R1 zoning to remain in the front. So that's why it's a partial approval.
And just so you know, like there was on Earth B, there was a world where in like 2019 or 2020, instead of this commission could have just intentionally said, we're going to, no matter what, we're going to consider reverting this zoning back to NU without a developer. So that's why that's a sort of cleaner, more clear path. But just as a sort of a process, the county has never really proactively gone through that process.
The expired,
so that's why
if a
that's why you
PEU
see these going together.
expires, it usually doesn't get dealt with until another developer comes along, and
That's
that
right.
expired PEU is a roadblock to them.
Because what had happened too is that between the expiration of the old PEU and today, there are essentially no development rights. They have to go through, there has to be some sort of procedure. Even if they had wanted to construct a new house, just one house on this very large site, they would have needed to come back to this commission at some point. So there was always a roadblock to any development at this site until it went through this process.
Jefferson County played a role in this too.
No, all that development that is in Jefferson, there is a fair number of development whose access in Jefferson County is by this private road on Lockmore, which has been, that development's been there for some time, and that is it's been there for some time.
There's many residences in
there's
St.
many
Louis County south of this, and then many residents in Jeff County.
Correct, where that is
south of
their
this as well.
only, this is their only access. So if you may recall from public hearing, that's why some residents were sort of in favor of this no matter what, because the developer is proposing to build a new bridge that ties into, is it Hillsborough? Is that-
Yes.
Yes, that goes from
Yeah.
Lockmore to Hillsborough. So there will be
In addition to the
some
culvert being
improvements.
improved.
That's right. So, but we were very concerned about the addition of 34 new homes onto a private road because the maintenance of private roads, many property owners don't understand the level of responsibility and the real sheer cost that gets tied into maintenance of private roads. That's why we've been very clear with the petitioner on our strong concerns about that.
But Jacob, is a petitioner going to have sidewalks go down the whole length of the road then on his property?
No, they would only, or the whole length of the portion of Lockmore Drive that he will construct on his
Yes.
property, yes, but the sidewalk
Yes.
wouldn't go any
farther.
Any
Only
further.
the only
No,
property.
just to the end of his property.
That's correct.
So
Thank you.
if they want to come back, someone wants to come back and develop the parcel in green, then that would have to come back to the commission again, correct?
That's correct. If it goes back to the NU, they could only develop, I mean, any of the NU permitted uses, but residences would have to be on lots of 3 acres
Or greater.
or greater. Yeah.
Yep, gotcha, thank you.
Any other questions? Ready to vote on the motion's been made and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And next up, site development plan for PC 30-24, St. Louis County Council, and PC 06-24, VP 2 44 East LLC.
First is actually the site plan for PC 16-24 University Crossing. I apologize if this is backwards in the, is this correct on the agenda?
It's in this order on the agenda. It may just not be on the script.
PC 16-24 University Crossing is an MXD mixed-use development district. It's a 1.98 acre tract on the northeastern quadrant of the intersection of North Hanley Road and University Place Drive. This is a proposal for multiple family residences and offices. The commission will recall this site is in North County, and there it is in red outlined on the aerial. This is in a corner of what was overflow parking for the North Hanley Metrolink station. So this is the site development plan. The general design is pretty much consistent with what was shown at public hearing, with the L-shaped building close to the street and parking behind. There's fencing around an interior courtyard, which is sort of in the bend of the L, if you will. This is the landscaping plan, which shows buffer yards along the street frontages and then landscaping throughout the interior of the site. This is the lighting plan, meeting the zoning ordinance requirements for lighting. These are some details showing the trash enclosure, the fencing, and some parking lot bollards, the bike rack. These are the architectural elevations showing a mix of materials and a high degree of fenestration, materials including brick throughout. And here's the 2 other sides of the building. And that is also, at this time, we are recommending approval of the plan and the architectural elevation. So at this time, I would like to request a motion.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next up,
This is PC 30-24 St. Louis County Council and PC 06-24 VP2 44 East LLC. This is a PEU in the R6 Residence District. It's a 5.5 acre tract on the north side of Valley Park Road, approximately 40 feet west of Caesar Drive. This is for multifamily residential development. The commission will recall this is in the southern part of West County, and there it is outlined in red on the aerial. This is part of a larger development, most of which is in the city of Valley Park. So this is the site development plan, which is also consistent with what was shown at public hearing. This is 2 residential buildings and a clubhouse. So these are the site plan sheets showing the building location, parking location, and the covered garages. This is the natural resources inventory. These are grading sections throughout the site. These are additional grading details. This is the ordinance sheet. These are some site details, including the monument sign and the trash enclosure details. This is the landscaping plan showing that increased landscape buffer yard along the street frontage to prevent light spillage onto the neighboring property. There it goes. Here are some additional landscaping details. This is the lighting plan, which is also meeting the requirements of the zoning ordinance and of the PEU ordinance, and the lighting details. And these are the architectural elevations, which also show a mix of materials and a high degree of fenestration. So this is just showing all facades of the structure. Of both structures, I should say. And the proposed garages. And some additional details, again, of the trash enclosure and the sign. And lastly, this is the clubhouse. And so we are recommending approval.
Motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a question. So the main purpose of the proposal for tonight is really changing what?
This is what we have in front of you is as part of the PEU, as part of this procedure, which this had a sort of a unique way that this finally got to you all this evening. But one of the requirements is that when staff has ensured that all the, when we apply that ordinance to what they've shown is that it meets everything that's inside of it. So it is the purview of the commission to then approve that site development plan because it is it has that PEU procedure. So therefore, you all are the final stamp of approval on that site development plan. So that's why this one and the previous one were for you this evening.
And can I just ask what the PEU does different than the zone? What was that part of what's the importance of the PEU?
Sure. So PEUs in general, so you have the zoning map, right? So that's going to be your general sort of when you think of like R1, R2, R3, C1, C2, C3, it tells you where each of those are located. And this site is zoned R. There was a change in zoning that allowed it to go to R6. Yeah. So this underlying zoning is R6. So then R6 would allow you to construct multifamily development by right. But it's relatively light on sort of design criteria. So that PEU is a special procedure in the zoning ordinance that gives the county the ability to require additional conditions of development to ensure that what they're providing and showing is contextually sensitive to the development around it, that otherwise it couldn't be developed in a manner by right without these PEU conditions that would be appropriate. So adding those conditions was to make sure that it was contextually sensitive. So that was some of like the additional landscaping along Valley Park Drive and some other design criteria that were added to those conditions. But I would otherwise also be happy to just talk about the philosophy of the special procedures of the zoning ordinance at any time. I love talking about this stuff, so.
I do have a question because I couldn't see because I'm not there to see clearly. Did they also, are they going to put a sidewalk up on the top of that
Yes,
property?
there will be a sidewalk along Valley Park Road.
And is there also an entrance up there coming into the neighborhood? Yes or no?
Yes, you can
Yes.
access the development from this site, and then you can get out onto 141 through the Valley Park half.
The
Or
main
Schleifer
entrance is
Station.
really in Valley Park. This
Mhm.
entrance on Valley Park Road and the unincorporated portion is really the,
Secondary entrance.
yeah, the minor secondary entrance
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Didn't the fire department probably ask for that as well?
Mm,
Did they require a second entrance? They may have.
that may have been a
Yes.
consideration, but that wasn't made explicit to us.
Was that an
Okay.
original plan?
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
has.
it's been shown the whole
This
time.
has been shown from public, all the way through public hearing, this access.
I know when this came through a couple times for that back entrance, there was concerns about light shining into those homes, right? I know some of the residents
Yes.
were complaining about that. Was there anything done to try to mitigate that, or is that just?
We're trying to address that in sort of two ways along Valley Park Valley Park Road. They had shown like an 8-car sort of carport, and they have added a second one of those. So the landscaping, the carports themselves will help shield some of the light, but then we also created sort of a lighting buffer. Normally what the zoning ordinance says is you have to be 0.1 foot candles at the property line. And what we wrote was that they had to be 0.1 foot candles. I can't remember if it's 15 or 20 feet from the property line. So they have to get darker further from the property line to also help mitigate that spillage to the homes on the south side.
And then in general, the lighting ordinance, which this lighting plan had to be in conformity with the lighting section of the zoning ordinance. It does require that all light be cast downward. It does require that light can only be emitted from these at certain angles to reduce the likelihood that light is going to just be sort of cast broadly into people's eyes and onto adjoining properties.
Thank you. And
Yeah,
then
of
the
course.
other question, I guess, is as people leave that back entrance on the Valley Park Road at night, is that exit, right, or entrance, the exit right there, is that going to be car lights shining straight into people's living rooms as well? Or is that to where it's, not directly looking at people's living rooms, I guess is what I'm saying.
Where their access is, I think, is generally where there's sort of been a driveway. So that is the point where, in theory, lights could face the homes, but only on that sort of egress maneuver.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? Motion's been made and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. For the good of the order.
We have nothing for you this evening, so,
But there's good stuff coming.
right.
Okay. I guess motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
You're adjourned.
We will
Have a
see
good
you
night,
all in
everyone.
early February. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh,
Thank you.
Mel, are you going to
Todd.
send out another calendar again, kind of like we did before of
Yes.
the year?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay, thank
Bennett
you
will
very
do
much.
that for you.
Okay, yes,
No, we
I
didn't
talked
mention
with Bennett today, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.